Both have some coverage right now, okay. Well, what we're going to talk about is coverage that's going to take care of your final expenses. And it would be something in addition to, because the economy's crazy, we all know that. Companies are looking for ways to save money. They may eliminate your coverage tomorrow, and then where would you be? If something would happen to you, what would Miss Smith have to do?
I don't know.
Have to go to work.
At that point, it'd be up to her.
You'd have to go to work.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't want to put a burden on her to have to go to the bank and take a loan out or sell a Harley Davidson, mind you, to pay for your funeral. Is that right?
Yeah, that's probably it. I don't like that thing anyway, but you're right.
You don't like that thing anyway. Listen, I'm going to show you a few great points about Old American, and then we're going to get into some health questions. Very, very simple interview, and I'm not going to take all morning of your time. I'm sure you've got other things to do on this fine holiday, like go ride the Harley in 25-degree weather.
TV.
Is that right?
I'm gonna be lazy today.
Well, I can understand and appreciate that. I'm going to ask you one thing first. This is a living will certificate. Do either of you have anything like this filled out right now? Are you familiar with the living will?
No.
A little bit. No and yes? No problem.
Smarter than I am.
This is just it's a basic contract where you are able to fill in your information, sign it, and 2 witnesses. Does not have to be notarized by a lawyer or anyone of legal profession. But this tells others what you would want regarding life support one day. If something happened to you and you were rushed to the hospital, more than likely you're going to get put on life support. And would you want your loved ones to have, your children, your wife, to have to decide at a very crucial moment to take you off that machine, or by filling this out, you're going to go ahead and take care of that now. It's really something very important to do, and it just takes a minute to fill out. Another item I'm going to show you, if both of you just pretend like, heaven forbid, we're gone today. You have two boys, 2 daughters,
Boy and a girl.
Boy and a girl, okay. So they're in their early 20s. Would they know if they had to come into your home where all of your important information is at?
I don't even know where it's at.
Yeah, I don't know where it's at. Well,
The daughter probably would.
the daughter might. Well, more times than not, and some are guilty of this, saying, oh, it's all in the safe in the back bedroom. But you know what? Your kids probably don't know even how to get into the safe, right? This here is a vital information registry, and this allows you to put down all of your important information. Checking accounts, savings accounts, insurance policies for the Harley Davidson. Those aren't cheap. I'm sure you've got a good insurance policy on that. Your home, again, your autos, locations of various special things, birth certificates for the children, your marriage certificates, deeds, titles, anything of like, you'll have that put somewhere safe. What this allows you to do is note that, where it's at, how to get to it. So your children, or each other, or siblings, whomever, would have to get to that important information. You're taking care of that now, because you're going to completely remove that burden later. Does that sound good? All of this too, by the way, that we're going through is free of charge. It's just something that we're going to leave for you as a gift that's going to be a very helpful tool one day. I was going to show you now the planning guide, and we'll just go through this just quickly. I'm not going to read to you. Mr. Smith over here is dozing a little bit on me. Is that right? Does he take a nap this time of day?
He does that a lot.
I didn't see that. You probably watched the little football game,
No.
AFC, NFC yesterday.
Oh yeah, I watched it yesterday.
Okay. Anybody you're gaming for the Super Bowl?
No, my team's been out.
Is that right?
Yeah.
You look like a Cowboy fan. Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, they just had a rough way this year. The planning guide talks about your last will and testament, veterans' death benefits. Of either you a veteran?
No.
No? Okay. Also addresses the Social Security death benefit. You know how much Social Security is going to pay? You ever heard?
You said on there 255.
255, and you know what? That only pays one time. So between the two of you, one passes away first. That's it. It's not much to bury a person, take care of any kind of arrangements.
255, because I know I'll go first.
And we'll pay for the flowers.
Well, we don't know. Won't pay for the flowers is right. We also talk about the funeral, and we talked about a few things already: the living will, the vital registry, and then this planning guide. If either of you like to write or express yourselves to your family in a method like that, here's a page where you can actually write out a letter to your loved ones, and just tell them what they meant to you over the years, and tell them that your planning by taking an Old American policy is so that they don't have to worry about the financial side one day. And that's something that they're going to be able to read. The family history page is just that. You both have an opportunity to write a little bit of family history information down. Your parents, where you worked, organizations you were involved in. It's kind of an outline for an obituary page, something very, very important to do. The immediate family of page talks about just of that. Who's the important people just outside your family directly? Friends that might assist the family. Who's your family doctor? Do you have an accountant? Do you have an attorney? Someone like that. Just need the names and phone numbers so your children, your siblings, whomever, again, could get in touch, because those are very, very important people that need to know one day when it's time for you to go. Your personal memorial instruction page, now this is the detail. Have you all spoke about your memorial instructions at all with one another, or talked with your kids or whatnot?
No.
Well, you can get as much detail as you would like right here. We address everything from what type of service. Would you like a particular minister or pastor to speak? Someone to give a eulogy? Your caskets? Colors? Mr. Smith, you like flowers?
Not really.
I bet Miss Smith does.
I don't know, I've never given her any, but
Is that right? So if I put you on the spot,
they just die.
if I say what kind and what color, can you at least get one of those questions right? Well, Miss Smith, here's a place, flowers, color and type preferred. And you can actually fill out, again, all this important information, and this is going to be completely done for your memorial instructions. Jewelry, you have glasses. You think your kids, would you like to have your glasses on one day?
Probably
If
not.
you're laid out, not out, make a note. You don't want your two boys, or your boy and your daughter rather, fighting over what mom's going to wear, correct?
Right.
Yep. We finish it all off with a checklist, and this is a lot of information. People that's going to need to be notified, selections that will need to be made, obligations, planning, providing, and then of course the very important part, arranging payments. The average funeral for our area right now is $7,500 to $8,000. Do you have that kind of money just to throw out today if you would need to pay for a funeral?
No.
If you're able to have something of a really small monthly payment, would that be a little more affordable for you?
Well, yeah, it'd be easier making a smaller payment, but I probably need to find out what I got at work.
Well, what you have at work is going to be something of a living benefit, right? You probably have, say you make $25,000 a year. And after you pass away, if you have something just like that, same for your wife, more than likely that's going to pay out, but it's going to take some time. It's going to go through probate. It may go to your estate. It may not pay out immediately. And what we do is manage your immediate funds to help take care of your final arrangements. Because you well know how the economy is. A funeral home, they're not going to sit around for somebody to come up with the money. They want to know where the money's coming from today. What we're going to do is just go through a few questions for both of you. And I'm going to see what you're eligible for and what you qualify for. Sound good?
What do you think?
These are all yes or no, very, very basic. And you know what? It's all time sensitive. Just takes about less than 5 minutes to do. And if you've got any questions, you please let me know. They're not anything personal that you're going to be embarrassed about, because everybody has to answer them, okay? Have either of you been diagnosed with AIDS or HIV virus?
No.
I'm going to tell you a quick story about this. I like to enjoy visiting with people. I was visiting with a 79-year-old gentleman. He was getting ready to turn 80. And that was the very first question that I asked him. And he just paused for a minute. I was like, what is this guy going to throw back at me? And he said, Mr. Williams, I've done a lot of crazy things in my life, coming on 80 years, but I haven't taken the time to get that one yet. So I was like, well, let's not, Mr. Jones. Let's just let that one be. Okay, so again, AIDS or HIV virus, what was your question? Now, have either of you had a stroke or heart attack in the past 24 months?
No.
Good. Any congestive heart failure the past 36 months? No. Have you been treated for cancer other than skin cancer in the past 2 years?
No.
No. Have either of you been diagnosed with cancer of the lung? By the way, do either of you smoke, use any tobacco, nicotine?
Yeah, I do.
You do? What kind do you use? You smoke, or
No.
dip or chew or all that stuff?
The gross stuff.
The gross stuff, huh? So she didn't like to kiss you a lot when you've got that going on.
No.
No? Okay. Okay. Well, you know what? With tobacco, I can still qualify you for coverage. Now, obviously, it's going to make a difference with premium, but we'll look at that in a minute. Do either of you use home oxygen at all?
No.
Nope. Okay, good. In the past 12 months, have you been hospitalized 2 or more times for the same disease or disorder, confined to a nursing home, or needed home health care?
No.
No. Very good. In the past 24 months, any liver disease, kidney dialysis, kidney failure, cirrhosis,
Okay.
any renal insufficiency, diagnosed with any alcohol or drug abuse?
No.
And do you take any medicines for bipolarism or schizophrenia?
No.
As far as respiratory wise, have we have any chronic lung, chronic asthma, chronic bronchitis, emphysema, COPD, tuberculosis?
No.
And either of you diabetic?
No.
Good. You guys are pretty healthy, you realize that?
We've
didn't-
been blessed.
You didn't need me to tell you that though, do you?
No.
Yeah. In the past 2 years, have you had any blood or circulatory issues, stents, angina, aneurysms, any of that sorts? And yes to tobacco, no to tobacco in the past 12 months, is that correct?
Right.
Okay, yeah. The average funeral, again, is about $7,500, $8,000. Is there a certain amount of coverage that I can just initially show you today, or is there a monthly premium that you know that would work for your budget?
Does your policies run just by the 1,000, or is it 5,000, 10,000?
Tremendous question. I can actually write you a policy anywhere from $1,000 to $25,000. And the great thing is it's all based off of what we just talked about. There's no medical exam, no doctor's visits. I take down the information, I can write you a policy. It's all whole life insurance, and the even better news is your health is so good, you qualify for immediate coverage. So you receive a conditional receipt today, and the coverage starts right away. So there's no 2-year waiting. I know you hear all of the TV ads, and you get the things in the mail and whatnot. Old American is a product that will pay out for when you need it. And that's what we're here for, is to remove that financial burden from your loved ones, from your family, give you the peace of mind today. Knowing that an average funeral is about $7,500, I tell you what we'll do. Let's look at a few things. Let's look at, we're going to look at say 7,000, 10,000, and 12,000. And we're going to give you an idea on what kind of coverage we can do. Let me make some notes here. How long have you all lived here again?
Oh. I've been in the same place, within this house for 5 years.
For 5 years? Well, the big question is, now your kids are in their early 20s, how long have you all been married?
5 years?
Mhm.
I already asked you 5 years. That's not what I wanted to ask you. How long, yeah, so you've been
Well,
married 5
right,
years?
Those are my stepkids.
Those are your stepkids, okay, I hear you. So you had a busy life then, is that right?
No, not really.
Not really?
She's the one that had all the kids.
2 kids, that's not that many kids.
Well, I bet you've taken them in just like they're yours, though, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
They're
Well,
good
that's-
kids.
that's good. That's good. All right, what I'm going to show you here is first I want to tell you again, you qualify for immediate coverage, okay? Coverage is immediate. I can issue a policy for a person up to the age of 85. Now, what's that mean? That means that once a person turns 86, I cannot qualify them for coverage. And actually, we're in the good state of Missouri. If a person's health is not doing so well, it stops at age 75. But you guys have great health, and that's why you're qualified for such really, really good coverage. The rates that I'm going to show you never increase. You qualify for your health today, your ages today. We all know we're going to get older, and our health possibly is going to get worse as we get older. But it's also based off, like I said, your ages today, your health today. Your plan's never going to be canceled. It pays up at the age of 100. So it's a good opportunity to take it now, and it's going to be there for your loved ones one day. The benefits that we're going to look at never decrease. $7,000, $10,000, $12,000 policy, for example. I set it up as a bronze, a silver, and a gold level. For example, the $10,000 policy, you'll always have $10,000. And I also made a note for you as well. We have an accidental death program. It's a benefit rider that if something would happen by accident and death would occur within 90 days of an accident, it would pay a double indemnity. So it would pay, instead of $10,000, it would pay $20,000, and it's only 70 cents more a month for both of you. So it's a great opportunity.
So if a person was in a coma for like 3 or 4 months, that accidental death wouldn't pay?
Well, it depends on what they were in the coma for.
That accident, if you were in a car accident and you were in a coma for 3 or 4 months, you said 90 days, it wouldn't pay.
Within the first 90 days.
Right, but if it was
120 days, then it would just pay, and if death occurred, it would pay a benefit of $10,000. That's right. So, as you can see here, I can get you $7,000 worth of coverage for both of you for $79.80 a month, and that does include the accidental death rider. So that'll be $14,000 paid out if death occurred by accident. Just the same, a $10,000 policy, $20,000 accidental death is $89 a month, and a $12,000 is $107 a month, and that would pay out a $24,000.
Is that for both of us together?
That's for both of you together. But the good thing is you'll both have your own policies. You'll be the owner insured of your own policy. And by the way, we can give you some other options of payment: annual, semi-annual, quarterly, or monthly. I always offer the monthly option because actually it is the cheapest, because we'll discount you. We take a electronic fund transfer, a draft from a checking or savings account, and it happens one time a month. The monthly premium never changes. You pick what you want, and you're going to receive a discount for that opportunity of using the electronic fund transfer. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I know that you're very busy people. I know that we need to take care of some coverage for you today. These are all 3 great opportunities, and I want you to take advantage of what you qualify for. Which of these looks like something that makes better sense for you today? The 7, the 10, or the 12,000?
We always have to think about it before we actually do. We like to sleep on it and talk about it for a little while. We don't ever make a decision around the spot.
Well, I know you were thinking about it because you mailed this card in.
Right, and then, like I said, I thought they were just going to be sending me some quotes or in that thing in the mail, but, I mean, I do appreciate you coming out, but, I mean, we always think about it and talk about it before we...
You know, the best thing about having me here today is to be able to help you with questions that you have. And obviously that you,
You've done that.
you want to think about it.
With that.
Well, I want you to understand that things can happen overnight, and many a times we are one visit away going to the doctor of being ineligible for a lot of things. Our health can turn bad, accidents can happen. You want to make sure you're covered, and you want to provide your family the coverage that you need. This coverage being whole life, it also builds up cash values, it builds up loan provisions, it builds up paid up insurance. And if your boys, for example, since they're over the age of 18, if they would both be part of the beneficiaries, maybe your wife and yourself would be the primary and your children be the secondary. If something would happen to both of you, this is going to pay out directly to your children. So they're going to have that money immediately. And all it takes is just a little bit of paperwork. I've got to write down your medicines. You guys are on either medicine?
No.
Medicines at all? 0 medicines. So that's even cuts out that much more time.
What is the cash, how does it gain cash value?
How does it gain cash value? Well, over the years, being whole life insurance and not term, term just stops at a certain time frame, 10 years, 20 years. Being that this doesn't ever stop, it's going to go up to the age of 100, and then it's paid up. But as you're paying it over the years, it will start drawing paid up insurance. So what that means is that down the road, if it gets to a point where you feel like in your senior years, right, you want to spend your money on another Harley Davidson and don't want to get any more coverage, you can call into the office and we can see what the cash value is at the time. And you have an option of reducing your insurance coverage to a paid up amount at that time. It's called reduced paid up, and there's no more payments to be made at that time, and you just have a fixed coverage for the rest of your life.
Right. Obviously, wouldn't do us any good to do that. I mean, if we need the 10,000 to bury it, so.
Good thinking. That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
But I mean, we do need to check our budget and see if this fits in it. And I mean, She might have to give up some things.
Now, I know Mrs. Smith drives a Harley, and you have a beautiful home, by the way. And I know that you still work and have a very nice job. And I know the main thing you want to do is have something there to take care of your final arrangements. And even if you take the $12,000, for example, and if that's more money than what you need for your final arrangements, whatever's left over is just left over as a gift of love to your beneficiary. If you need some time to think, Mr. Smith, and I can appreciate that, what we can do is let's go ahead and do the paperwork today. We're going to fill out the application. I've got most of your information already. We can delay your draft. Let's see, today's the 21st. What time is a good time of the month for you two to have your drafts, your payments come out of your checking accounts?
That's not really it. I mean, we have the money in there, it's just that we like to talk about it. I mean, we're find out which would be best for us, what we do have. Don't you think?
I'm
Yeah.
showing the information to you, and there's no obligation where you have to just make sure it's going to be coming out, and it's going to cost you for something that you don't want. Now, what you can do is, we'll do the application, we'll finish a little bit here, it'll take less than 5 minutes. You both sign it, I'll turn in your information. And we're going to say, okay, we're going to make your draft go ahead and happen this week, since you said the money's there and you want your coverage to start right away. We'll get your coverage in place, and you'll get your policy in 7 to 10 days. And once you receive your policy, you give me a call and I'll come over and we'll look at it together. After you receive your policy, by law even, you have 30 days to review your policy. And at that point, if you say, you know what, we don't want it, which I don't think is something you're going to do because you know the importance of this, that's some additional time I'm offering you to look through the policy. And at that point, you can either keep it or you call us up and say, this is not something we're going to do, and you'll receive that first monthly premium back. So there's no risk for you by any means to go ahead and put this in place today. Just takes a minute. What is your, and I didn't get earlier, what was your birth date, Mr. Smith?
Well, hold on, I mean, it's something, I mean, we'd also like to have our opinion of our kids too. I mean,
You know what? I'm going to tell you exactly what your kids are going to say. They're going to say no.
I don't want my kids.